Every one of us, well, pretty much every one of us, carries around one of these. It is something that we have learned to rely on, right? We use it when we need to call somebody. We use it when we need to send a message. I was thinking about this. I actually made an offer for my house on this phone, and I got it. So this is my good luck charm. Just kidding. But anyhow, we also use this to navigate, to find our place, find directions, or even listen to the music that we want to listen to, right? Instead of the radio where you have to listen to what they play for you. The whole idea is we have everything in the palm of our hand. But the problem is eventually the power is going to run out, right? And so quickly we try to find that charger because we need that charger. We need it in order to keep the power going. In John 15 today, Jesus says something similar about our spiritual life. He says this, "I am the vine, you are the branches." In other words, our spiritual life works the exact same way. When we disconnect from Christ, we slowly lose his power. That means we start to experience his peace fading away. The patience disappear and love grow thin. But when we can stay connected to him, we will be able to experience his life to flow through us. We're on our 5th week of looking at the I ams of Jesus. That is statements that he makes in the Gospel of John, helping us understand a little bit more about who he is and who we are. And this week he says, "I am the true vine and my Father is the vine grower." It's important that we note that word true, because in the Hebrew Bible, the nation of Israel was also known as the vine of God. There are various texts that point to that, including Psalm 80, where we read these words, "You brought a vine out of Egypt," the Israelites. The vine of God, you brought them out of Egypt. You drove out the nations and planted it. You cleared the ground for it. It took deep root and filled the land. Your vine is cut down. It is burned with fire. At your rebuke, your people perish. Obviously, things are not going too well for Israel, according to this psalmist, and what is happening. And so they're calling out to God, "Don't forget us. Remember us." It goes on to say this, "Let your hand rest on the man at your right hand, the Son of Man you have raised up for yourself. Then we will not turn away from you. Revive us, and we will call on your name." Revive us as your vine. Fast forward to the days of Jesus, and he is that Son of Man, that one that God raises up to reveal the faithfulness of God, and again, him as the true vine. He cured the sick, he inspired the disheartened, and when people saw him, heard him, received him, they were witnessing God. But as his ministry continued, he was a threat to some. And so this passage occurs a few hours before he will be arrested, tried, and the next day taken to the cross. These then are some of the last words he gives to his disciples, his friends. He tells them he's the true vine, they are the branches. What is he getting at in this passage, and how can we apply it to our life? We're going to do that by looking first at this vine imagery. In Israel, they still grow vines. They still have vines where they grow and make grapes and even wine. And so the vineyards continue to look like they did in Jesus' time, spread throughout Judea and Galilee. During the growing season, it is often that the branches can become heavy with grapes, and some of them become so heavy that they will droop down, sometimes even fall down to the ground. And when a branch is on the ground, it's lying in the dirt, mud begins to cover it, the leaves cannot get the proper sunlight it needs, and the grapes struggle to grow. At first glance, someone might think that the gardener will then cut that branch off, just discard it. But that is not what the gardener does. Instead, what happens is they go around and they find those fallen branches and they lift them up. And they put them back on the trellis so it can receive the sunlight and air again. Once it is lifted up and cleansed, the branch can continue to bear fruit. Scholars believe this practice truly helps us understand what Jesus is saying with this verse. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it may bear more fruit. What you need to know is that that term takes away also means lifts up. In other words, the gardener does not, again, discard that branch, does not take it away, but rather lifts it up, raises it so it can grow. Sometimes I know life feels like we are lying in the dirt. That branch that is weighed down. It's heavy. Life can be heavy. Maybe we feel discouraged. Maybe our faith feels a little weak. Maybe, again, life has simply knocked us down. But God, the good gardener, does not throw us away. Jesus explains to us that God is always there working to lift us up, to clean us off, to restore us so that we can grow. And Jesus says the key to that growth is this. He says, abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. If you were paying attention to Mark reading that scripture lesson, Jesus says the word abide 11 times. 11 times in this passage, and that tells you something. It's pretty important. He's trying to get a point across to the disciples. The word abide in Greek is actually menio, and it means to stay, to remain, to continue in relationship. If we go back to the beginning of the Gospel of John, in John chapter 1, verses 38 through 39, Jesus is going around to the disciples, and they've heard who he is. They heard about this rabbi that's going around and offering invitations for them to come and follow. And so they say to him, Rabbi, where are you staying? Where are you menio? And Jesus replies, come and see. From the very beginning of John's gospel, discipleship is about choosing to stay with Jesus, so that by the time that we reach John 15, we reach the end of Jesus' ministry. The idea is you chose to come, now remain with me, and I will remain with you. Again, this is the night that Jesus will be arrested, tried, and taken from his friends. But before he does that, he simply offers him those words, abide in me and I in you. And he's inviting his followers to this ongoing living relationship with him. Not occasionally, not just on the Sabbath, but daily and always. Abiding is not complicated. It is simply staying close to Jesus, remembering that we belong to him. And as we do, we will bear much fruit. The fruit Jesus is most interested in us bearing, of course, is the love he has given us. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. It's not just love, right? It's the love of God that has been revealed to us through Jesus. As Jesus has loved us, we are to love others. And he's teaching us simply remain in him, remain in that love, and that same love will grow in us. It's instrumental for us to remember that Jesus is passing this on to his disciples, and he speaks of this command actually twice. Earlier in the night, he had washed their feet, and he gave them a commandment to love one another as he had loved them. And now he's doing it again as he talks about being the vine and the disciples the branches. Jesus is again helping us understand that we cannot dismiss this command, that when we are upset, when we are angry, when we are hurt, like the disciples are going to be going through in a few hours, but rather hold on to it. I am the vine, you are the branches, those who abide in me, and I in them bear fruit. The fruit of divine love does not come from us, it flows through us. From Christ, who is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, our job is to remain with him, that menio. And before we leave this passage, though, I have one more message that I think it's important to point out, and that is verse 16, where Jesus says this, "You did not choose me, but I chose you." We know the stories from the beginning of the Gospels. Before the disciples, again, understood who Jesus really was, he had already chosen them. He chose them to come and see. He chose them to bear witness to his fruit, that divine love. He chose them to remain in it and allow it to flow through them to the world, which it will. So the good news that you and I need to hear is that Jesus chose you. He chose you before you knew this faith. He chose you before you felt worthy. He chose you before you thought you were ready. He chose you before now. Jesus Christ has chosen you to go bear fruit that will last, and you will. This week, I received a lovely email from a previous parishioner at another appointment. And this is a young man that I saw grow up in the church. When I arrived, he was in elementary school. When I left, he had graduated high school. He was a bit of an outgoing kid when we were at church, and so I would ask him to help me out with some things. Hey, can you help me out with the children's message? Could you help me out with Vacation Bible School? Eventually, I asked him to serve on church council. Well, he sends me a note this week to tell me that he's answering a call to go into ministry. And he wrote these words, "I owe my current position to you and the mentorship you showed me in my formative years, having invested your time in something I may not have seen in myself." Friends, that was Jesus working through me, and he is working through you. You may not know how, you may not know when, you may not ever know, but the gospel says he chose you to bear fruit that will last. He chose you to love as he loves you. Therefore, may the power of that same life-altering love be revealed through you to bless the lives of others as you abide in Jesus.